Hey, my fellow rockheads. Today we're talking about a frog that supposedly didn't notice the water getting hotter until it was too late. Now, before anyone writes an angry comment, the famous boiling frog is a metaphor, not a real description of frog behavior. But the lesson? The lesson is painfully real. What's the temperature? Pretty comfortable. Finance Caveman turns up the heat one tiny notch. Still fine. Finance Caveman slowly reaches for his emergency banana. I have a bad feeling about this. Welcome back to Finance Caveman, where we use strange animal stories to explain money, investing, and the wonderfully confusing decisions humans make. Grab your emergency banana, and let's begin. Most financial disasters don't happen overnight. Debt grows one payment at a time. Inflation quietly reduces your purchasing power year after year. Companies slowly lose their competitive edge. Housing bubbles don't appear in a single afternoon. The danger isn't always the big shock. Sometimes it's the tiny changes we stop noticing. Today we're exploring why humans are surprisingly good at adapting to gradual problems, how that affects investing and personal finance, and why the biggest financial risks are often the ones that don't look dangerous until they're impossible to ignore. So, why slow changes fool us? Here's something Finance Caveman finds fascinating. Humans are excellent at noticing sudden danger. A market crashes 20% in one day, everyone notices. Your house catches fire, you react immediately. A company suddenly goes bankrupt, front page news. But slow changes are much harder to see. One extra coffee each day doesn't feel expensive. One small price increase at the supermarket doesn't seem like a crisis. One extra credit card payment feels manageable. One tiny subscription hardly matters. Then months become years. How much debt do you have? Only a little. How much? A little. From 12 different credit cards. Finance Caveman quietly grabs his emergency banana. The problem isn't one big decision. It's hundreds of tiny ones. This is why the boiling frog became such a popular metaphor. Not because frogs actually behave this way, they don't, but because humans often do. Finance Caveman has noticed another mammoth rule. Big financial problems usually arrive in small installments. Inflation is a perfect example. Prices rarely double overnight. Instead, your groceries cost a little more. Your insurance goes up. Your electricity bill rises. Rent increases. A restaurant meal costs $2 more. Each increase feels small. Together, they quietly reduce your purchasing power. That's why many people say, "I don't know where my money went." It didn't disappear yesterday. It disappeared a little bit every month. The same thing happens in investing. A great company doesn't usually become a bad company overnight. Its profits slow. Competition increases. Innovation stalls. Management makes a few poor decisions. Each change seems insignificant, until one day investors suddenly say, "What happened?" The truth is, it didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly enough that most people stopped paying attention. Next, investors don't notice the heat. Now let's put the boiling frog into the stock market. Most investors prepare for dramatic crashes. Very few prepare for slow decline. Imagine you own shares in a fantastic company. Year 1, revenue grows 18%, everything looks great. Year 2, growth slows to 15%, still excellent. Year 3, growth drops to 10%. Management says it's temporary. Year 4, growth falls to 6%. A new competitor enters the market. Year 5, growth reaches 2%. Profit margins shrink. Customers slowly leave. Finance Caveman has noticed something. Nothing looked dangerous until everything did. My company is still the market leader. Is it growing? A little slower. Profits? A little lower. Customers? A few less. Finance Caveman nods. The water is getting warmer. This happens in personal finance too. A family upgrades to a slightly bigger house, then a nicer car, then another streaming service, then more dining out, then a luxury holiday every year. None of these decisions are outrageous by themselves, but together, they quietly raise the family's fixed monthly expenses. That's called lifestyle inflation. The salary increases, but so do the costs. Years later, they wonder, why do I earn twice as much but still feel broke? FinanceCaveman smiles. The frog didn't notice the water. The wallet didn't notice the spending. The lesson isn't to panic over every small change. It's to regularly step back and look at the bigger picture, because slow trends often matter more than dramatic headlines. By the time everyone notices the problem, the smartest investors have usually been adjusting for years. Next, how great investors spot the heat early. So how do experienced investors avoid becoming the boiling frog? They don't just watch today's numbers, they watch the trend. FinanceCaveman has another mammoth rule. One bad quarter is news. 5 weakening quarters are a trend. Smart investors ask different questions. Is revenue still growing? Are profit margins shrinking? Are customers leaving? Is debt increasing faster than earnings? Has management stopped innovating? None of these changes may seem dramatic, but together, they tell a story. The company still made money. Less than last year. Yes. And the year before? Also less. FinanceCaveman slowly nods. The water isn't boiling, but I can hear it warming. The same idea applies to your own finances. You don't need to check your bank account every hour, but once every few months, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I saving more than last year? Has my debt grown? Are my monthly expenses quietly creeping upward? Am I investing consistently or just reacting to headlines? Small trends become visible only when you zoom out. FinanceCaveman has noticed something interesting. Professional investors spend surprisingly little time predicting the future. Instead, they spend a lot of time measuring what's changing, because trends usually whisper before they shout. When did you know the company was in trouble? About 2 years before everyone else. How? I stopped looking at today's price and started watching tomorrow's direction. FinanceCaveman smiles. That's the difference. The biggest financial disasters rarely begin with one terrible decision. They begin with dozens of small warning signs that most people choose to ignore. The best investors don't panic over every little change. They simply refuse to ignore them. Next, turn down the heat before it boils. So how do you avoid becoming the boiling frog? You build a habit of checking the temperature, not once, regularly. FinanceCaveman has noticed something. Successful investors don't wait for disasters. They notice small changes before they become big problems. How's your portfolio? I haven't checked for 3 years. FinanceCaveman slowly reaches for his emergency banana. Let's hope it's good news. Think about driving a car. You don't wait until the engine catches fire before checking the dashboard. You notice the warning light. You listen for strange noises. You fix small problems before they become expensive ones. Money works the same way. Review your spending. Review your investments. Review your debt. Review your goals. Not because you're expecting disaster, but because slow changes are easiest to fix early. FinanceCaveman has another mammoth rule. Small corrections are cheap. Big corrections are expensive. The same lesson applies to businesses. The best companies don't wait until profits collapse. They launch new products, cut unnecessary costs, adapt to new technology. They change while the water is still warm, not after it starts boiling. Our sales are down 2%. Should we do something? No, let's wait. 5 years later, why didn't anyone tell me? FinanceCaveman sighs. They did. The biggest advantage in investing isn't predicting the future. It's paying attention to the present. Because by the time everyone agrees there's a problem, the opportunity to act is usually much smaller. The smartest investors don't panic. They simply keep checking the temperature. Next, the boiling frog lesson. So what does the boiling frog teach us about money? It teaches us that the biggest financial threats are often the quietest ones, not because they're invisible, because they're gradual. Finance Caveman has noticed something interesting. Most people prepare for emergencies. Very few prepare for slow change. Yet slow change is what usually transforms financial lives. I suddenly went bankrupt. Finance Caveman raises an eyebrow. Suddenly? Thinks for a moment. Actually, it took about 10 years. Finance Caveman nods. I thought so. The same pattern appears everywhere. Debt rarely becomes overwhelming in 1 month. Lifestyle inflation doesn't happen after one shopping trip. A retirement fund doesn't grow because of one investment. And a successful business rarely disappears after one bad day. Small decisions, repeated over many years, shape extraordinary outcomes. That's why compounding works both ways. Good habits compound. Bad habits compound too. Finance Caveman has one final mammoth rule. The future usually arrives one tiny decision at a time. If you improve your finances by just a little each month, those improvements accumulate. If you ignore small problems each month, they accumulate too. The direction matters more than today's speed, because by the time the water is obviously boiling, the real opportunity to change was often years earlier. The best investors aren't always the ones who predict the future. They're the ones who notice small changes, while everyone else is still saying, everything seems fine. Outro. So what did animal theory teach us today? The biggest danger in your financial life probably won't arrive with flashing lights. It will arrive quietly. One small increase, one small delay, one small compromise, again and again, until one day you wonder, how did I get here? Dips one finger into the water. A little warmer. 1 month later, a little warmer. 1 year later, a little warmer. 5 years later, Finance Caveman jumps out of the pot. Okay, now we have a problem. The lesson isn't to panic over every tiny change. It's to pay attention to the direction. Because wealth isn't usually built in one brilliant decision. It's built through hundreds of small, sensible ones. And financial trouble usually works the same way. One unnecessary subscription, one missed investment, one extra loan, one delayed decision. They don't look dangerous by themselves, but together, they quietly change your future. Finance Caveman has one final mammoth rule. Small changes deserve regular attention, not because they're emergencies, but because they become emergencies if nobody notices. Grab your emergency banana, stay curious, and don't wait until the water feels hot before asking whether it's time to get out. I'm Finance Caveman, and I'm still trying to figure out why humans can ignore 10 years of tiny warning signs, then act surprised by the result. See you next time. Peace.